deal with this history thing. I hear a lot of people, and you see a lot of people, like I said, love to talk about the kings and queens that black people were back in the day and all this good stuff, and that's great. But what I want black advocates to do, the task I'm going to give you, is I need you to do the same type of research that white folks are trying to find out about you. I want you to start a journal, a notebook, whatever you choose to do about your timeline, the timeline of black people. I want you to focus on before 2,000 years ago. And not just, this king lived at this time or this queen lived at this time. Because remember, I see a lot of you putting up things about, this black king lived, 800 AD. Remember, our timeline does not have after death. That's what that means, after death. Our time does not have before Christ. Our timeline does not have the things that you're going to see in the white timeline that was created by those that were conquering you. Okay, remember, they wiped out your, or at least attempted to wipe out your timeline and replace a line. Right now you have the blacks in Africa are going through the 9th slave trade that we know of. You have Chinese that are actually enslaving blacks again and taking over the black lands and black resources. Now, how blacks let that happen again is because many of the blacks on the continent do not study their history, just like blacks in the diaspora don't study their history. And so when Chinese came, because they didn't look at history and see what happened to the Asiatic black man and the Asiatic black people, they thought that Chinese were there to help them. Okay? That's the same thing they thought before. So you guys have to understand how the same mistakes keep being made. If you do not study history, then you will make the same mistakes over and over again. That's why this timeline is very important, and it's important for a bunch of black people to do the timeline so that it's not something that can just be seized from one person and destroyed. If a bunch of people are doing the timeline, not only will you have better things to debate about and compare and exchange, but you'll have a bunch of people with a bunch of the pieces that you may not have. And that's the important part. When you find the generation, so a lot of black folks don't even count when they're doing, setting up these 501c3s and different programs. They don't even count how these programs will affect 100 generations from now. That's not even factored into their business plan, if you will. But that's what's needed in order to fix these things. And if you had, I see a lot of you trying to work on redoing Black Wall Street, it's important that you go through the history of, it's great to talk about, that there was a Black Wall Street. It's great to talk about that there were many Black Wall Streets. But I want you to go through the timeline. Now I want you to look at some of these black towns and black areas and cities that were set up and start from the beginning. When did they first start setting up Black Wall Street? What was the catalyst? What was the event that started it? What was the first thing that they built? When you're trying to redo the black community, you need to go by steps. And those steps, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already been done. All you have to do is really go back and find out what was the first thing they did. Okay? Was the first thing they built, was that a school? When you looking and you say that, well, the first thing they built was a school. Well, I need you to go back further than that. Where'd they get the land? Where'd the land come from? Because it's great to build a school, but whose land is it? Did the land belong to them? Okay, did they get the land from former slave owners? What, was it the land payment for did they get their reparations? There are some things that you have in your history, in your timeline, that are holes, that are missing. And that is why you guys spend 86% of your time debating each other over the silliest things. I mean, really ridiculous. And nothing gets done. History is the only thing that gives you a measure, a measuring stick to know how much progress you've made, whether or not you're on track, and what else has to be done for future generations. Okay, so I'm going to lay myself down. I was going to try and venture out today, but the pain is hitting kind of hard. I may still try to venture out. I gotta get used to it at some point. But I'm going to lay myself down for a little while and then see what happens. But I hope that gives you guys another task that helps in your fixing the situation that they're facing in the black community. Okay, so y'all know how we do. If we're still here next time, we're going to deal with some things. Okay?